Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Ajeng Pangestu and here with my friends Akbar Mardiah, Heydi, Ruth, and Stanley Novaldo. We are here to present children and adults in second language learning. And thank you for Miss Anna for the opportunity. Let's start. Second language acquisition refers to the process of learning another language after the native language has been learned. Second language learning is the process of internalizing and making sense of a second language after one has an established first language. Second language acquisition. Learning a second language is different from learning first language. Learning first language has been started since one is just a baby who does not have the ability to speak and only able to deliver messages by babbling, cooing, and crying. However, second language is learned after one is able to speak and has absorbed knowledge, which influences him or her in learning a second language. The differences between learning and acquiring language. Learning language. Creation defines learning as the process between acquiring and utterance. Language learning happens in the conscious system. Meanwhile, acquiring language happens in subconscious system. Is it true that children learn faster than adults? It is a common belief that children learn, in this case about second language, faster than adults. A common observation in which children are able to learn another language faster by exposure without teaching contributes to the popularity of said belief. Steinberg states that there are some factors involved in second language learning: psychological, social situation, and other psychological variables. Psychological factors. Again, Steinberg considers three main points of psychological category. There are intellectual processing, memory, and motor skills. Social situation. This is the second category in the factors that Steinberg mentioned. Social situation are then divided into situation, setting, interaction. This category is related to where and with whom the second language exposure happens. Other psychological variables. It is related to the effect of other individual factors that can affect second language learning. Therefore, the discussion will be focused on language community context, motivation, and attitude is in learning second language.
In-depth the factors. Intellectual processing. Intellectual processing discusses about the ways to learn syntax of second language. According to Steinberg 2001, there are two ways. First, it can be explained by someone to us, which is called explication. Second, it can be understood by ourselves, which is called induction. Between explication and induction. Explication is the process of the rules and structures of a second language explained to a learner. The explanation is given in the learner's first language. Then, the learner expected to understand, learn, and apply the rule in second language. Meanwhile, in induction, Saxon 2007 states that induction is learning rules by self-discovery. Children who are exposed to second language speech and remember what they have heard will be able to analyze and discover the rules regarding the speech. Memory. Memory, it is important to learning. It is inconceivable that people with severe memory can ever learn their native language, much less a second language. In learning, even memorizing the simplest words require memory. It is why second language learners and teachers are always talking of practice and review. Children's memory ability. Harley and Doe, 1997, stated that older children begin to apply their cognitive abilities and analyzing the syntactic rules of the second language, while younger children relied more heavily on their use of rote memory for language learning. The memory ability of very young children seems to be unparalleled in that they can absorb a phenomenal amount of data. While children at the age of 5 or 6 still display a phenomenal ability at rote memorization, it seems that older children do not, with some decline beginning around 8 years of age and with more of declining from about 12 years age. Adult and children in short-term memory tasks. In other types of memory tasks, adults may have the upper hand. According to Hunter 1964, short-term memory seems to increase up to age of 15. The comparison adult between children. Adults are better in understanding how and what to remember, likely to preserve more meaningful tasks. Cook 1977 found that when adults are able to apply their more developed memory, thus perform better generally. Memory seems to begin its sharpest decline around the age of puberty. Meanwhile, in children, children seems not to realize that memory has limit thus, less able to decide on the level of importance of what it is to be remembered, likely preserve meaningless tasks, naturally able to perform better with their fresh and stronger memory. They haven't passed puberty. And the next will be explained with Heydi Ruth.
Okay, thank you, Abai. Now, I will explaining about the motor skill. Motor skills, the creations of speech sounds, is related to the ability to control the muscles which manipulated the speech organs, which affects our fluency in pronunciation. The motor skills which are involved in speech utilize what linguists call the articulator of speech. These include the mouth, lips, tongue, vocal cords, and etc., which are controlled by the muscles which are under the general control of the brain. Decline in general motor skills. Around the age of 12 years old, there is a general change throughout our body that affect all of our motor skills. Most persons experience a decline. The reason for the decline in the fine control of the muscles of the body is yet unknown. Although, since the decline is such a general nature involving all parts of the body, it seems likely to be due to some change in central functioning in the brain. However, hormonal changes prior to puberty as the reason is a speculation of Snow and Hofnage Hohe 1977. Decline in ability for new articulation. As we age and as our ability to acquire new mouth skills declines, our ability to command our articulator of speech is affected negatively. It can be expected that children do much better in the pronunciations of second language than adults, because children have flexibility in motor skills which adults generally have lost. The social situation. There are many social situations in second language learning. Steinberg states that basically the social situation is divided into two important categories. They are natural situations and classroom situation. The natural situation. A natural situations for second language learning is one where the second language is experienced in a situation that is similar to the native language is learned. Steinberg states that children can learn second language faster than adults in natural situations. The reasons why adults are slower than children are: the first, decline of beneficial social interaction with age. The second, with age, language is more important for social interaction. The third, older children's problem. The classroom situation. The classroom situation is isolated from other social life. Everything is planned, little is spontaneous. Learning language as part of a group and not as an individual. Next, the other influence will be explained by Stanley.
Fine, and thank you, friends, for explaining the material before this. Now I will begin the presentation regarding the other influences in learning second language. There are several other influences they may affect in learning and acquiring a second language, both for adults and children. The first one is motivation, split into two other categories, which are integrative motivation and instrumental motivation. And the second influence is attitude. First, we are going to talk about motivation. Brown in 1980 stated that language learning will be more success if there is certain motivation inside the learner. However, Steinberg in 2001 stated that a 1 or 2 years old needs no motivation to learn a second language. An older child of 4 or 5 years may need motivation, since by that age the child may be aware of whether a language is positively or negatively regarded by others. Next, we are going to talk about motivation in adults. To adults, according to Gardner and Lambert in Cook 2008, there are two kinds of motivations in second language learning, namely integrative motivation and instrumental motivation. So, what is integrative motivation? Okay, integrative motivation is defined as, sorry, can I, this slide, please? Yeah, I will. Yeah, this slide. Thank you. Okay, so for integrative motivation, it is defined as the desire to be like valued members of a community that speak the second language or just be able to communicate with L2 society. The presence of integrative motivation should encourage the acquirer to interact with speakers of the second language out of sheer interest and thereby obtain intake. And for instrumental motivation, it is defined as the desire to achieve proficiency in a language in order to get benefits like acquire to get a job. Its presence will encourage performers to interact with alto speakers in order to achieve certain ends. For the instrumentally motivated performer, interaction always has some practical purposes. And the next, we are going to talk about attitude. Gardner and Lambert in 1985 stated that a negative attitude toward the target language or its speaker or other members of the class may also affect one's determination and persistence to be involved in the classroom and its activities. According to Brown in 1980, the same negative attitude could impair memory functioning and detract from focusing on the target language. Steinberg in 2001 stated that attitude may not play a role in the natural situation. By 4 years of age, children have developed attitudes towards language. And here we finally reached the big question in our meeting here. Who is better, adult or children? So in this table, it stated all the factors that have been explained before by my friends, namely the psychological factors and social factors. The psychological factors include the intellectual, which is split into two, the inductive and explicative, and then memory and motor skills. And the social factors include situation, which then divided into the natural situation or classroom situation. So from this table, we can conclude that generally the children below 7 years old are high in several factors here, as we can see in the inductive, intellectual inductive, memory, motor skills, and the natural situation in social factors. So, in conclusion, based on the explanations that have been explained by my friend and I before, it is complex to determine whether children or adults are better in second language learning. The common belief that children are better than adults has been proved, although with some qualification regarding the classroom situation. Put another way, adults do not do best in any situation. In the natural situation of language learning, it is determined that young children under 7 years will do better than adults, and so will older children between 7 to 12 years. It is not even uncommon for young children to learn a second language in a year or less. Therefore, children do better than adults. In the classroom situation, older children will do better than adults. However, Young adults will do better than young children to the extent that the young children's classroom is not a simulation of the natural situation. In the simulation case, young children will do better. So that is all for our presentation today. We would like to thank every one of you who watched our video, and we would also like to express our gratitude to Miss Anna for teaching us about psycholinguistics and for giving us the time today to present about second language learning and who is better between adults or children in second language learning. Also, for our friends, don't forget to do the question that is provided in our slide. And that's it for today. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.